The IT security idea, we're looking at customer data, we're looking at also bank data, but we're also looking at our systems. Are they safe? Because we're in a digital age, we transitioned from our operations. When I joined, we were largely, most of our transactions were over the counter. And we had a drive to move to digital transformation and move customers out of the banking hall and be able to serve them 24/7. So that drive also increased the risk, the digital risk that we would face as a bank, but also the security has to match that initiative of digital transformation. So my role really was to ensure that as we digitize, we ensure that our operations are safe. We can launch products like we did with the WND, upgrade our core banking and things like that, that we have not introduced new risk into the bank. And bringing this convenience to the customer also brings added scope of threats that can affect the bank in terms of operations, given that most incidents really happen out of office hours. And really, we should make sure that my role was to ensure that during office hours, out of office hours, our customer data is safe, the transactions are safe, we know who you are as you're transacting. And we also opened up a contact center 24/7 that we can be able to get back to us at the point when you feel something that is not correct with your account and with your transactions. So really, that's my task. I lead a team that reviews 24/7 monitoring of our systems and our operations. Right now, you could see, if you see the current statistics of the population, a large majority of it is below 35, right? And what type of population they want access on the phone, real time, I want services on the phone, I don't want to move much. Now, before you are required to come to the bank to open an account, you're required to come to the bank to change your PIN, you're required to come to the bank to change your ATM, things like that. Now, I want to do that on the phone. I don't want to travel. So extending this service beyond the banking hall also has a great impact on who is that customer trying to access this service. What validations do you have in place to ensure that it's the right person and they are authorized to do that action of self-service? Because we want to move services beyond the banking hall. So that increases the know your customer demands from just physical, that I can see you, I know who you are, to yes, we have extended it to the digital and we can be able to validate you without seeing you physically. So that risk of know your customer is quite great, and fortunately we had the national ID come in place. We have these integrations with NIRA where we can be able to verify that. We have integrations with our telcos where we can be able to verify that this phone number has not been swapped recently. So that alone, extending the services that we used to do at the banking hall to the customer and with wherever they are, whichever country they are in, has increased that you need to have better monitoring. Fraud detection steps up because you're not only now looking at transactions, you're looking at the person behind the phone, behind the channel, but also things like integration with our third parties. Prior, when you are at the banking hall, the risk is lower because you have the data, you manage it within your premises. But now, when you're trying to do validation beyond the banking hall, you have to do validation with third parties. You have to integrate with the telcos, and that additional connections bring what is called third-party risk, because you may be safe as within your systems, but the telco or the person you're integrated with to extend this service is the one that has the risk. So that scope of just looking at only our operations, now we have to look at who are we integrating with, who are we partnering with, are they safe? Our checks have to be constant to ensure that our controls that we have set, our policies are in line with, the third parties are also in line with those policies. And beyond contracting, a downtime at a third party also affects downtime at our side. If you want to send money and maybe our integration with a third party to send money is down, the customer only knows PostBank. the thing, PostBank is down. So we have to make sure that we're constantly monitoring this uptime, and we're also constantly monitoring the security of our third parties. So that definitely increases the scope. That's beyond just our premises. It's now much wider global view of the risk that the bank is working with. Before moving this digital transformation journey, about 20% of our transactions were digital. 80% were mostly over the counter. But that has flipped now. So almost 83% of them are digital. We have less people coming to the banking halls than are on our digital channels. To showcase that, we have more people contacting us over our social media, WhatsApp, and on the phone than come to the banking hall to get feedback on their accounts. And with even the advent of agency banking, we have more channels to serve these customers outside banking hours. So that risk before, you would just sit down and say between 8 to 5, once the bank has closed, operations are done, right? But now, even beyond those working hours, people are still transacting. We have customers in the diaspora that need to transact and communicate with us. So the flip of the majority of transactions are now 85% of them are more digital, 15% are on the banking premises. So
increasing the risk that much.
Yes, because with the increase of digital means that the monitoring efforts and the controls we put in place, we have had to invest heavily in cyber to match that increment in our digital transactions. There's a common thought process that threat actors go ahead of controls. Usually you find a new threat and then a control to mitigate that threat. So with that in mind, cybersecurity is already playing catch up. But the time it takes to catch up has also improved. Before you would have a threat actor, or what we'd call a hacker, utilizing a certain vector that would take a while for even the vendors to be able to catch up with this. But right now, those processes of catching up to what are the new threats has improved. And recent technologies that have been in IT, which are AI, machine learning, there are also cybersecurity tools that are being used to kind of look for the unknowns. Because the usual case of how an antivirus works is that there's a virus, there's a definition of a virus, and then the antivirus updates to block it. Now, we have threats which are not defined, but you need to be able to mitigate those. So cybersecurity has changed in a perspective of having user behavior-based controls, which are looking at you as an individual and as a customer. What's your normal way of operation? When do you normally transact? Which locations do you normally transact from? And if it's something out of the ordinary, maybe an alert can be triggered, or maybe a control can be, you can do step-up authentication, maybe ask for a PIN, ask for an OTP, so that you can be able to validate who you are because you have gone out of your normal operations. So I would say that advancement in thinking of risk-based prior to usual controls was just compliance. Do you have antivirus in place? Yes. Do you have this in place? Yes. But now, that doesn't work anymore. You have to be more proactive and look at where is the risk and what do we need to put in place to mitigate this risk. So I would say the time it takes to catch up to the threats has reduced greatly with the advancement of technology, but also it has created a burnout for the people who are tasked with putting this in place, because you have to keep abreast to what is happening in the industry and also keep updating your controls based on what the industry is saying. So you'll receive alerts all over the place from intelligence teams, from the internet, but are we updated enough as professionals to keep up to date with what is happening? Because there's one place that's having the technology, but there's also the teams that are tasked with managing this technology. Are they up to speed? Now, I see that is where the pain point is. The technologies are there, yes, but the personnel to keep up to date and also apply this new knowledge to to the processes of cybersecurity is where I see the gap and the real work is in the industry. What I see now, we have more players offering education at a lower cost. Before, the only opportunities we had for learning cyber were international certifications. Right now we have partners, we have players that are offering skill-based training. They may not be internationally recognized certifications, but at least they give you that skill to get into the field. We are also seeing universities have now a degree in cybersecurity, which was not the case a few years ago. So we are seeing that the industry is also changing, and it changes from education really, because to get the professionals into the industry, you require them to be trained and skilled. We're also seeing a lot of movement from the government in terms of the regulators, in terms of the entities like UCC are having workshops. They have hackathons that they bring people in to try and get them integrated into this industry. You have players like Bank of Uganda that have released new guidelines for cybersecurity for the financial industry, which ideally are to give a framework in which the financial industry should operate when they are looking at this cyber and technology risk management. So we also have a bankers association that has annual quarterly meetings to try and bring people together in the industry to discuss about the current risks, how can we mitigate them, and this cross-functional. I've also seen us having cross-functional teams where you have teams from telcos, you have the teams from banking, you have the regulators also on board, and we're all forming this pool to discuss this risk of cyber security and how can we better mitigate it. So this engagement and also training of new graduates, new personnel to get into the field does two things. It meets the gap of skilled personnel within the industry, because that's our biggest issue right now, is skilled personnel within the industry. It bridges that gap, but also bridges the gap of collaboration, because where there's success, this needs to be translated across the industry. Where there's been a failure, this needs to be notified so that other entities can better secure their environments. Having the skilled personnel and having collaboration are two major factors that have seen a certain take shape within the industry, and we're having it's no longer just banking, telcos and the like. We are now having cross-sector engagements on cyber security, and this is also spearhead. Ministry of ICT is playing a role in this, in ensuring that we actually have a national framework for cybersecurity that is in place, and this is being adopted now. You could see even new players in data protection, like with the introduction of the Data Protection Office, which is ideally tying with policies, frameworks like GDPR for Europe. So you have the Data Protection Office coming up, doing a lot of training on data protection, because it has an advent in cyber. Training out of data protection, doing sensitization on data protection, and this all creates the boom that before cybersecurity was a myth. Yeah, I spoke at one of the events organized by ICT Association of Uganda, and attendance of about 400 people. I asked how many here are practitioners of cybersecurity. Only one person put up their hand. But this is all these are IT personnel. Only one put up their hand.
This was what, 2024?
This is 2023. It's not too long ago. Only one put up their hand. I recently spoke at Isaka for doing training and awareness, but you could find that we have knowledge, but practical application is lacking. And even when someone is doing when you're doing these engagements, either there are no personnel, or the personnel who are there don't have practical skills to apply what they know. Some of the certifications we get are objectives, but when you get in the real world, it's totally different. from what the certification is talking about. So the advent of bringing skills-based training other than certifications, I've seen a lot of that coming in. Actually, I see yesterday I heard of new players coming into the industry to do these skills-based trainings. And this will help curb that gap. Because you'll ask yourself a question, okay, yes, there are personnel, there's technology in place, why are there still breaches, right? And the breaches are there because even as you apply a technology, what is the mindset as you're applying that technology? Is it based on a risk or is it a compliance tick? Because maybe it was raised by an auditor, right? So the thought process around the controls needs to be clear. What risk are you trying to mitigate as you apply this control? And that only comes from collaboration, it comes from sharing information, it comes from sharing evidence, it comes from upskilling, to have personnel that know the task at hand and what to do to protect these organizations. The assumption is that I need to go to school to learn cyber. It is good, but it's not the only source of education. There are so many courses and so many resources online for what would be a meal at probably Java's. You can get training in cyber. The question is, us who are recruiting, do we recognize these trainings that are being done? Because you'll find that you just I want CISP, I want these industry certifications. But does the hiring managers or the teams that are hiring recognize trainings outside those de facto certifications? As a young person, I would advise, if you're at campus, if you have not yet joined campus, ISBAT has a degree in cyber. Victoria University has a degree in cyber. Some, say UCU has a degree in IT, but they have also modules in cyber. That's where I studied from. But we have the likes of Milima, we have trainings in cyber. The task would be on the teams that are recruiting to recognize these skills. How do we recognize skills that are beyond the usual certifications that we are looking out for? Because for someone to spend, CISP exam alone is around $750. The exam alone, exclusive of the training. Now, if you're saying that I need this, a lot of people have cut them out. Globally, there are not so many CISP professionals, but that's what you'll say you need. Or you'll say you'll need Security Plus. So we need also hiring managers and also teams, a process that can be able to bring on board new talent, upskill it to get skills-based hands-on training to be able to be integrated within the industry. So as a young person entering the field, go on YouTube. There are so many courses on YouTube. There are so many resources if you searched for skills-based trainings, which are cheap, that you can be able to get as low as 100,000. You can be able to get trained and get at least the knowledge of it. But also I'd encourage career guidance at these secondary schools. Career guidance to be able to, because I can give an example. When I was at campus, no one knew of actually cybersecurity. It's a field I landed in later on after being a system admin. I said these things are not moving, and I looked for which other area can I go to. But there's no one doing career guidance at that point in time. Say that, you know what, there's a field of cybersecurity. These are the opportunities. This is what you can become, and do. There are countries like Israel which look out for talent much earlier in the life cycle of studies for an individual. So we need to be able to move backwards and say, where can we identify people who are fit for this industry? And that's where maybe the government would also play a role in part of this education, have career guidance to identify talent at that much earlier age that can be trained and skilled into integration into the industry. insider threats is the biggest risk that is facing the cybersecurity industry. Insider threats can be both intentional and unintentional, right? Unintentional is even you yourself can be an insider threat to yourself or your family. I'll give you an example. Someone sends you a link on WhatsApp. There's right now we're in the festive period, right? So the Emirates is offering free tickets to Dubai for Dubai shopping festival and the like. So someone clicks it, their WhatsApp is unintentionally clicks the link, go through the process of submitting their details, their WhatsApp is taken over. Now that same WhatsApp number which is taken over, the fraudsters will use it to contact the person's contacts. Oh, I'm stuck, send me money, right? And if you're not cautious on looking out for such as an individual, you could send money. I have a colleague in another industry who's part of the members of the senior management team was compromised like that, and because they are in senior management, when their contacts received SOS for money, people are just sending. It was much later when he was able to get another number and say, please don't send money to this number. But people had already sent money. The intentional one is the one who is out for gain. Either I've been promised a cut, or I'm disgruntled employee, or something of the sort. I'm out for gain in compromising the organization. So many I've seen across the industry, fraudsters recruiting insiders. And one of the attack vectors they are using once they do these recruitments is one of the attack vectors that they are using when they recruit these insiders is rogue devices. Someone will just plant a machine on your network and leave it at that, and they go out of the office. So that device on your network is used as an entry into the organization. It goes beyond maybe you're monitoring your computers, you're monitoring your servers, but you're not monitoring a new device that is planted. That is one of the most critical, one of the attack vectors that's happening right now in the industry. The other is credentials being stolen. I steal Paul's credentials. I wait for him to go on leave. Now I know in December his leave schedule, he'll go on leave. Identity theft is much broader, but identity theft, I'm trying to get you to give me information to impersonate you. So either I'm going to ask for your national ID, I'm going to ask for your phone number, I'm going to ask for your date of birth, etc. With that, a fraudster can use it to call customer care and reset your PIN. Say that, you know what, I've changed numbers. So they're going to ask, what's your national ID? What's your last date of birth? What's your last transaction? So right now, one of the incidences you'll see happening is fraudsters posing as customer service. Fraudsters posing as customer service. So customers should be very careful of which numbers they are using for customer service. Go to the organization's website, look for the actual contacts of the organization you're working with. So recently, before joining banking, I also used to work in consulting, cyber consulting. So you'd find a customer gave out all his details, thinking he's talking to the customer service of the organization. The fraudster uses all those details to reset their PIN. When they reset their PIN, they transact as part of them and this and that. And one of the cases I looked at, we saw that even the fraudster told the customer, wait for 12 hours for your PIN to be active, your new PIN to be active. So as he's waiting, and this customer was in the diaspora, wasn't even local. So the only way they could contact was through their social media or WhatsApp and the like. So they got a number from wherever for the official WhatsApp of the organization. After this fraudster used this information to reset their PIN for their mobile banking, logged in, transacted. And this guy was waiting for 12 hours. But in those 12 hours, after he transacted, he did another PIN reset. And this customer got the OTP, logged in. But when they eventually logged in, they found money has moved. Raised complaints, says, I've been talking to customer service, they told me this, says, send screenshots. and they send screenshots of all this. But it's a fraudster they have been dealing with. And you'll see that it happens even with it's not only banking, but with the telcos. You'll get a phone call that say, you've won ABCD money, send some mobile money. There are still people falling for that, because fraud work is heavily facilitated by trust. So that trust that, I know this is a number, this is the organization I'm dealing with, it's heavily facilitated by that. And usually if it is targeted, it is not immediate. Someone will cultivate a relationship with you and eventually utilize that trust that you have built over time to defraud you. You will never see a fraudster, even if a conman who is shabby. They're always smartly dressed because they want to present themselves as what? As trustworthy. So fraud heavily deals on trust. It can be trust as us as employers who have with our staff. It can be the customers, the trust they have with the bank, thinking that everything comes from the bank is legitimate without doing further checks. So fraud heavily deals on with trust. I think we have started with frameworks and training. I think we have started. We have come a long way, because before, I can tell you, working in organizations, cyber was a department's issue. It was for the security unit, security department. Anything cyber, it's those guys. Yes, talk to them. The staff didn't feel responsible for any breach or their role they play. So at the organization level, we have seen this transition to be a more collaborative effort and a more organization-wide initiative. But also the regulators and the government has also stepped up and said, okay, we need to give more attention to this. That's why you see Bank of Uganda has come up with new guidelines, because they say that we need to give attention to this. We can't have year in, year out incidents across the industry, and something needs to be done to mitigate this. So I've seen we have started the journey, but the journey of upskilling is still far. Because as much as we are making all these guidelines, we are making all this, who are the people who are going to implement this? Where are they? Are we going to outsource them? Are we going to import them? Where are these personnel? Right now on YouTube, there are teams who are giving back. There are professionals who are giving back. Okay, they may not be local, but they are what? International. There's already available training. The task would be, the people who want to get into cyber, do they know where to go to obtain these resources? Because I can tell you, where there's a need, there are also people trying to utilize, to get benefit from that need. So do we have I wouldn't call it ethics, but do we have the honesty to say, no, you don't pay for the training, there's something on YouTube that is free? Do we have that Ubuntu? Yes. To say that we need to get people here, let's send them for what? Free training. Or let's put aside some money as regulators, as what? To upskill people for free, because we need people in this industry. So it's already there, but how do we move it earlier in the discussion? When someone is in HSC, can we move them to say that, hey, there's a training that you can do? As you wait to go to campus, there's free training available for you to come and be a part of it. So that when you're making even before that, in S4, when you're making your decisions of what combination to take, can you know that there's an industry called cyber? Can we send some training? Because I know they have introduced computer at school, but yes, computer skills are good, but can we also introduce some cyber skills at school? Because it's the only way we are going to get people encouraged to join the industry. And the only way we can do that, the individuals are the ambassadors. Because I can tell you, in your circles, like you mentioned, you will look for how many people can interview in cyber, and you may not find many. So how can we get a populace that at least one in a certain number, there's someone who is a cyber professional? We need to approach this discussion much earlier than when we're already in the industry. Because someone who is in the industry, first of all, they're going to be expensive. They're going to burn out. Usually what I read is that people who leave cyber, they never get back into it. They just say, this is enough. I have enough sleepless nights. I've got something else. So that churn rate, those who are leaving the industry and who are joining, can we match? Can we have more joiners than leavers? Yeah, because like I mentioned in the prelude, you're rated on failure. The usual practice is, there's been an incident, you are not, it happened on your watch, please go. Now where does that guy go? Who is going to employ him? Who replaces him when he goes? Maybe you'll go and poach around and pick some people there, but where you're poached from, if a guy is left, who replaces him where he's from? So we need more people joining. There's rarely, you look at even the issue of CIA when Snowden leaked information, it was over time. People plan. You see, don't think cyber is what? Is an event. A cyber threat or cyber breach is actually a marathon. It's not a sprint that you just enter, steal money. No. These guys will be in the environment studying, doing nothing. You will not even notice them. They just wait for the opportune time to effect the breach. But they have already breached you. So there's even a perception of cyber. What we call the best stance is assume breach. Just be here right now saying, I assume we are already breached. Can we find the guy who has breached us before he actually does the incident?
Can you find the guy or can you find the breach?
Yeah, no, he has already breached. Can you find the person who is already in the environment studying us before they actually conduct their activity? So you find people sit in the environment. There's even, if you do some research, apparently China hacked the US Central Command and was there for 3 months just watching and studying, watching nuclear codes, etc. They were just studying. It's never breach, tomorrow we have hit you, no. Because they need to establish behavior, what times do you shut down, whatever. And they are just establishing a foothold. It's the same thing that with physical fraud. I will come, I will present myself, next time I will ask you something. I'm trying to build that trust over time. Eventually, I'll tell you, and you say, I trust this Steven, I know him. And that's the day I wouldn't try to ask you for something that you'd raise your eyebrow the first time we meet. I'll know that, oh, you're the one, okay. I'll discuss, I'll build the relationship. Over time, I'm going to now execute my plan. It's the same thing with relationships, but that's another discussion. But over but over time, I build. So just think of it how it is done physical. How a fraudster will build trust with you before they conduct the fraud. It's the same thing with cyber. I'll get access, but I'll not do it immediately. I'm just watching. Okay, these are the times. This is how you operate. This is where I can pass. And every day or every time, I'm just trying to build a bigger footprint within the environment. A bigger footprint within the environment. Now, when I've got everything I need, I now just need the opportune time. So for you, just see that, you wake up in the morning, we have been hacked. But this guy has been there for time. That's why I say the skills issue it goes back to skills. Because do you have the skilled personnel to look for those guys within the environment? Or they're just saying, tick, today we are okay? Because I'm sure you can be saying today we are okay until the day you are not. Yeah. But you have the guys who can think that, what is the indicator that someone is in our environment? What can I watch out for? So that we kick him out before he triggers his thing. So a cyber breach takes time. It's not immediate when you have been breached. Someone will get a foothold. Even if it was what they call social engineering, where I've gotten your access to your email, I'll go there and I first watch who I've been collaborating with, what have you been doing, etc. And then eventually, what can I use with what access you have? And then eventually conduct. It wouldn't be immediate. The ones you see that are immediate are things like, I've taken over your WhatsApp. Immediately before you respond, I need to ask people for money. Those are the ones immediate.
And those are amateurs.
No, those ones are the ones who target individuals. Yes, they may be amateurs. But if you do it with 1,000 people,
Yeah.
and right now you can find it can even be greater because people are traveling. You'll go a free Wi-Fi. Okay, let me connect. But there's someone on that Wi-Fi who is just watching traffic. One of them is fake e-commerce sales. You've seen Black Friday, Cyber Monday, etc. And those might most likely ask you for what? Your credit card, etc. or debit card. So I wish you were about these people, these sales that are ongoing. And many of them are going to come because it's a festive period, discount. So that one is one of the most important, because of a sale, we're in the festive period. The other would be impersonation, where you're moving to. I'm asking you for your contacts, your details. I'm saying we are from so and so. We need your information to be able to reset your PIN. We are under. You could hear incidents of we're undertaking an upgrade, but we need to confirm your identity so that you're not locked out. Now, if you're not cautious, you're going to share this information. Could even have an icon of PostBank. Could even change the name to PostBank, and for you see PostBank Uganda. You know, WhatsApp has no control on, may not have a control on what? On changing the name of the person who is sending you a message. But you could have our logos and everything. And then you think, this must be what? PostBank.
All lowercase.
I need to be what? Locked out. Even the O could be, if it's a website, the O could be a 0. But if you're not cautious to watch out for that, you may just say, must be PostBank. Yes. So those instances of kind of utilizing this mood of happiness and your guard is down to try and compromise your accounts. I see those are phishing, the usual of sending you email, I'm a Nigerian prince, I'm stuck, those increase. And send me money, or even the phishing which is for the phone. We have won this thing, we are so and so telco, you have won a gift, send money so that we can deliver it to you. And unfortunately, I don't know what is with the festive period, but people become so gullible. they want to win. And it also could be because of planning. I'm not planned for the festive period, and now there's a chance to win 2 million, and you just think, this is it. So, God has answered my prayers. I watched something where the guy was praying that God, I know my money is in heaven. You have sold it in heaven, but just lend me 2K of that money returned. Let me take off my riches in heaven. So there's that. Now at PostBank, what we try to do, we know that these incidents are going to happen. We have a 24/7 contact center that, in case of anything, let us know. If you have felt you've been you've done something that is out of the ordinary, and I'm not so sure, we have a 24/7 contact center. They will be able to support you. Also, our approach is that our monitoring, we can't say that we have stepped up monitoring. We monitor 365 days the same way. But what we did was move both customer-centric, meaning that at every point in the customer's journey, we know that we can be able to validate this is the customer and they are authorized to do this action. So it's across our apps, across our digital channels, because I can tell you most transactions are going to be out of the banking hall during this festive period. People have traveled and the like. We have also taken, which is not visible to the customers, is a risk-based approach in terms of controls as PostBank, our back-end systems. Where could we be breached? What do we have in place? If there's a gap, let's put that gap in place. We have done that throughout the much earlier, not only the festive period. That's why you see we launched things like Wendy, done upgrades, because that's the approach we took. Customer-centric, that is facing the customers at their journey. Where could they be breached, and can we be able to mitigate this? Let's do something that helps the customer, even when the customer has dropped the ball. But also our back-end systems for the risk. Where could they pass? Our processes, are we looking out for those who could be in the environment right now and we kick them out before? And also have our monitoring teams trained and upskilled. One of the biggest things we have done as PostBank is training internal resources. And like I mentioned, me as the head, I have recognized that is the biggest risk. that faces organizations, because you'll have tools, but who is looking out for those tools? Are they skilled enough? So we have invested heavily in training our technology teams, in our operation teams, in our security teams to identify suspicious actions and mitigate them before even the customer has been impacted.